to get Tunisia 6 months before I came here.
Yeah, I know. I was
But
like,
I've also, doing what,
he has
with
such a
my
high
job, it
pain
takes me to other
tolerance,
countries, and I
and
stay
he never
local in Malta.
complains about that stuff,
So,
that I never
so I've
really know
done
what's
like
going on
Dubai,
with him. And if
Bahrain,
I ask him, he
Kuwait,
plays it
Qatar,
down. Yeah, so, cause he
did
was limping, and it was
Morocco,
because the pain was
Kenya.
radiating
So
down his
I've been
entire
around.
leg. He didn't realize that was why.
So I know
Exactly,
they're
he didn't know he had a ruptured disc, but
all
So how's he
all
right
the
now? Is he
western part.
he was asleep when I left him, so he's drugged.
So everything.
Tell me about it, John.
Yeah,
Come on, come
but
on.
I'm gonna see what happens. I think I can
Like I said, as
get
soon
him
as
to
they
stay
do
on,
this, I
because he's
find
pretty
out
sore.
when,
I asked the
12th of
doctor,
next month, they
the
tell me
doctor, I
when I'm
never
supposed to
met the
have
doctor
surgery.
before, he's from the Ukraine.
So as they have
And you know, and so when he came in, it's the first time I've seen a man, and I can't even pronounce his name. And I said, well, how long do you suggest he stay home from work? And he said 3 weeks. I said, 3 weeks? And he said, that's what I said.
I
Talk about an old man.
Yeah, okay. You know, but when I told Yusuf, he said 3 weeks.
That's a wrong
I was
man.
like, there's no way he's good. I said, have you met him? Because he's so
Absolutely. It is really hard for us to stay 3 weeks at home.
You know, because I don't think he feels bad. He said he could feel relief on the way home from the hospital. He said he didn't feel the pain going down his leg anymore.
But that's terrible. He's not feeling because probably he was drugged.
Yeah, but he was pretty alert actually. Yeah, but you know, he didn't have drugs.
That's
So there's no telling. Yeah. I can't tell. I can't get him to tell me much. Yeah, I forget he has back problems and stuff because he'll go so long he won't say anything. Except he never likes any couch I ever buy or any chair because it's always too soft.
Oh.
That's really the only time it comes.
So his bed is hot.
Yeah, we have a sleep number. He keeps it on like 90.
90.
You know, and
I keep
70,
it
70,
75.
90. Mine's on 30. I sleep in a hole. You know, so it's
Like
like this.
ours. He sleeps like down and up. I cannot because my back would hurt me if I go less than 75.
I think you enjoy it whenever you go back home because, I mean, they have these, they don't have the mattresses, they don't have the spring mattresses. It's just like that really hard foam kind of mattress with a cover on it, with a mattress cover on it, and then sheets, and they hurt me, you know, but he loves them, you know, because it's like sleeping on wood.
And sometimes I love to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, I can't do that. I grew up in old broken mattresses. My family never replaced mattresses, you know, yeah, so you just kind of sunk down. At my cousin's, there was actual hole in the middle where people actually rolled and hit each other in the middle.
A lot of people, they don't know that the mattress plays a big role in your life. You sleep about 8 hours a day. And it has to be in a certain way that makes your body.
Oh, yeah, right.
And pillows too.
I want to fuck these coffee.
We've been through all of it.
Really?
We've done the Tempur-Pedic.
Oh, I'm smaller.
We've done everything. We finally broke down and bought the sleep number.
You twin.
I tried everything.
Yeah.
It's your ID.
But the sleep number is
Well, he would defer to me. He would say,
don't
well,
believe
whatever
that.
you want
I don't
on the
believe that.
mattress, on the regular mattresses, but I knew that's, you know, that wasn't gonna work. So, yeah, the sleep number's the best one. Do you guys have the one that's one mattress or is it split?
I thought you were 13
It's
years
one.
old.
But you can change the
Change it,
number.
yeah.
We made I think it was a mistake. I thought he was gonna be playing with that remote and sitting up and down all the time, and I didn't want, you know, while he watches, he keeps the TV on, and I would be going,
Okay,
you
so
know,
you go back.
all night long. So I got the split mattress, which was a mistake. Because, it's like two twin mattresses on top of it, and you can change the numbers, and you can separately lift them up and down.
No, we don't have the seven.
Yeah, yeah, well, because it kind of gets kind of a gap in the middle.
And I told my wife this. I said,
And I know the full one
retire to
will make you, it makes you miss in the bed.
For the ones I want to leave.
Yeah, the
sheets.
yeah.
It's beautiful.
No, we don't have it. We have just controlling the numbers.
Yeah.
It's really high,
Well, really don't use
which
the
most of the countries, the power goes out for no reason at all.
even with this, I haven't noticed him.
If it rains too much, power goes out. The sun is shining too bright, power goes out. Hospital.
Yes, exactly.
Can't do this. So that
Okay, I think we should start.
the Azan. Wait,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Let's roll.
I hear Tony.
Breakfast day is everybody is eating and they're
Yeah. Well, they can bring it in.
I know I did.
What is today?
27.
26.
27.
Are you, what are you talking about today?
Continue the marriage.
Marriage.
We still have one more lecture next week and that's it.
Oh, man. See, this kills me because this was such an important topic and we haven't had the attendance that I wanted for this.
But
They can watch it there though, maybe on
Uh-huh.
the, yeah, okay. Well, that's okay, as long as they
Well, are
can
you
see it.
streaming it over the web or
Yeah, I'm streaming.
really
Hmm. Let me go to
on the BIS website?
nuh-uh. It is on, what is this, Ustream, and it's on the our website, Islam101 and Beyond.org. Beyond.org.
Can somebody go do a run through to grab people or, no?
if you don't mind,
Yeah, tell them we're starting.
Yeah, we're starting. Then we swallow the food.
They can bring it with them. They can bring it with them.
It's the only way.
We get to eat and talk and try and get away from it.
Where's the pop machine?
This came from my house, but there is one
There's
that's
one
posted
down the hall.
Down
down,
the hall.
Yeah.
and we can tell you're not from Alabama. Pop machine, Yankee. But we'll let you stay.
Walaikum salam.
Did you see Angie's baby, or have you been to
Yeah, I went there.
She's pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Dad is my mother-in-law's name, and one of my nieces. Even though she's
Beautiful
still
baby.
alive, yeah. I love that, yeah. I wanted to name my father-in-law, his mother's name was Warda, and I was okay with that name, and even my father-in-law was, do not name any children Warda. And I was like, what? And my husband was like, it's like Ethel. It's like, yeah. So, okay.
My wife and I agreed that if we have boys, I will name them.
Oh, okay.
If we have girls, she has a right to name, which is good,
No.
split between the.
Sorry.
I don't know.
If you go to them, they have their.
No, I would just make list and list of names, and Yusuf would glance at them and go, no. Like that, I'd be like,
So this is a good way to be for both sides happy.
yeah.
So, but Allah blessed me with 4 girls.
You should have made that deal with Miriam.
Yeah, she named them, but I have a big influence on the name.
See, my thing was I had to pick a name. It's hard when you live here because it's like, okay, I have to pick a name that they're not going to get beat up on the playground in America or overseas. So, and then my family has to be able to pronounce it somewhat.
Yeah.
And
So it's good to really, if you live in America, that you have to come up with a name that's easy to pronounce.
they still can't
Sounds
spell
good.
my kid's name, Ihsan instead of Ihsan. But Ihsan, I dreamed about his name, and so I went ahead and used it.
But still, Ihsan is very simple. But my name is Ahmed,
to
is the most
Americans.
difficult name to the American. Everybody
You're
calls me
Ahmed.
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 He says, where did you get from Ak? Where did the Kaf came from?
Because we don't do that. We don't.
You didn't
we
give me
don't
half
have
of your
that
sausage.
anywhere.
Say, okay,
You didn't give me half of
Ahmed.
your sausage.
Take the
Yeah,
extra.
I told
Ahmed.
you.
It's either Ahmed or Ahmed.
You cook
Yeah.
extra pancake. I get
And
it.
Ali Janubi used to get
I got
mad
bread.
because he said I called him Ali.
Yeah.
And he would bang the he scared me. Because I was a teenager when I met, when he would bang the table and go, my name is not Ali, it's Ali. And I was like, okay, little man. Wow.
Now we lost all the chances to talk about a lot of stuff.
I figured that. I was
Rushing to get here for that reason.
talking about naming kids. Yeah.
Said, hey Stacey, how are you?
Used to sit every name I picked was like the oldest name you could possibly think of. He was like, what are these old names you Americans pick out? I said, well, we're picking up from the Quran. They're automatically old.
Yeah.
Because I said I wanted Nuh for Bashar. And he laughs. The Arabs laughed, and he said, "Do you know how old that name is?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I do have kind of an idea." I do, you know. Because that's what he says to me whenever I tell him something. Who told you this?
Zahir, is Daddy coming?
No, he had something to do today. Working on getting. Oh yeah, he told me to pick that up.
No, I'm not throwing it at you. If I throw it at you, I'm usually mad.
Somehow.
Pass it on through.
Tell him I took a couple bucks from him.
You better not. That was my money.
Tony was opening.
Yo, he got it in there.
We won't
Rent
tell
money.
If it's a little lighter when it gets to it.
Got that.
He owe you money.
Yeah, he did. It's time for rent. Yeah. I told him.
So we can take care.
But you just tell him, I know where your wallet's at, but you owe me this.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's delicious.
Wait a minute, there's a cake up there?
He's like, Marcos.
There's a cake up there.
Yeah.
Nothing. Another.
You have to go get
No, you
some.
don't cook it.
Now you're in trouble after I see this. It's gonna be
And you have to let me know how it
You
tastes.
will see.
I'll get you a piece. Your stuff.
You know, the plan is extremely close to cream caramel. It's actually equivalent to it, so that's their Arabic dessert.
Oh.
Okay.
It's a caramel pie.
And a caramel cake. I know all about caramel.
Gosh, I have a half an hour to finish a lot of stuff. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salamu ala Rasulillah Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim tasliman tayyiban mubarakan fi yawmiddin. Make salah and peace and blessings upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you get the reward by doing such thing. You know, we've been talking. I'm gonna go a little bit faster because next lecture will be the last one. Actually, we're gonna talk about next week. We're gonna talk about the marriage contract, how it happened, what rights they have to see each other and meet and do the contract and all that process until they get married. After that, that's a completely different lecture, is how to make their marriage happy and continue and how to work the marriage in the best way. So that's a completely different lectures. Anyway, so we've been talking last week about the marriage and how Islam focus a lot in the marriage in the Quran and the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ, and we say that our religion consists of one of the things that consists of is relationship, which is dealings and marriage and all that stuff. And we say that marriage sometimes to a Muslim it becomes a must, something he has to do. It's not a sunnah, okay? And in certain cases it is haram for him to do, and we discussed that. And in certain cases we discuss it's sunnah. In certain cases we discuss it's a dislike for him to get married, and we put examples for all of us. Yes. After the lecture. And also we talked about why we get married. What is the reasons behind it? You know, a lot of people because of. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, in reference to what you were just talking about, there was something that occurred to me, and I had a question was, you know, what if the situation just never presents itself for you? It just never happens. I mean, there are people that you meet that just never got married, not because they didn't want to, because it just didn't happen, and how, that's not haram, right? I mean, that's just, it just didn't happen for them.
It's not haram.
Yeah.
It is dislike. As long as he feels that he is not going to fall in haram himself. Then at that time he says, I'm not really having interest. I'm protected.
I don't have any
Alhamdulillah, I
interest.
do my obligations toward my religion, but I'm not in it because and I know I can protect myself. At that time it's a dislike. Okay? But somebody who is at the edge of doing haram, and he says, well, I'm not, I love to do this, you know, love a girl for a while and leave her and go to another one, leave her and go to another one, that has become haram for him.
I meant in terms, honestly, in terms of women, I have met a few women over the years that I think probably would have liked to have gotten married. It just never happened for them, and maybe they were too shy to go out, and culturally they didn't feel, even though it is perfectly appropriate in Islam, they didn't go out and search for it.
There's no problem with that.
Yeah, they're not doing anything wrong.
No, this is nothing
Right.
problem with that.
Yeah, I just,
Nothing problem whatsoever.
yeah. Just every once in a while you run into somebody like that.
So inshallah ta'ala today, look, we're talking about this subject. Probably it is for you. Probably some of you are married. But also this is, if you're not married, this is the best lectures. But if you are married and already have a children, this is good for your children. Okay? This is good for you to advise somebody who's very close to you, or your son, or whatever.
It's
Okay,
also
so
good
your
for those who are
friends and so
asking
on.
to help them get married. It's also very good for your own self, so you understand your own rights and the rights of your husband. Because without knowing what the rights are, you don't get them,
Absolutely.
and you don't give them.
The other, and we're gonna put myself in trouble when it comes to the rights. So.
I already know my rights. I already know my rights.
To say, oh, I'm gonna wait for that lecture.
Then he's gonna be recording.
Yeah. So inshallah
Look,
lecture
that's paid per view though. I want to cut from that one.
I'm gonna sell popcorn.
next week, inshallah. Next week the lecture at 9:30. Okay.
That's okay. I'll be here.
Okay, if this is for everybody, that's.
One day you'll get married,
Why
Amy.
am I here?
One day.
One day will not show.
To protect the woman you want to get married to.
Yes.
A little bit longer.
One day, inshallah.
It's for your future wife. How about
Yes.
that?
It's also a preparation for before you get married, so that you can control yourself.
There you go.
There you go.
If I'm gonna throw this in and Bashar on it, they'd be here.
And you will be amazed when it comes to the rights of a man or woman, for those who are married and for those who are not yet. If you find what Islam say about the rights, I think the woman will be very happy and the man will be really upset by the time they leave this room. But we will talk about that inshallah ta'ala maybe
They
next
shouldn't
week,
be
inshallah
upset,
ta'ala.
because what.
Now you have the intention, you want to get married, okay? Now you have the intention. Yes, I'm serious about it. I'm really thinking all the time about it. So what are you gonna do? You say just go and find somebody and get married? You've got to prepare yourself, okay? You know, a soldier, when he wants, the army takes him to fight somewhere. Do they just take him and ask everybody come over and register and we're gonna take you? Or they train them? Have to go the process of training. You've got to know things about marriage. You know, what is my responsibility? What is my rights? How I'm gonna do this? Because that would change your life. This is the most important thing in your life. Because the course of your life completely will be changed. So you have to train, you have to take some course, you have to learn about it, little bit. So believe me, so you would avoid all the problems that you may face in marriage, especially the first year. Especially the first year. A lot of the divorce cases because people are not trained in the right way for them to carry this responsibility. And unfortunately, and especially the Arabs I'm talking about, we do not tell and advise our children about marriage whatsoever.
Well, there's also the.
And we don't tell them, like the mother would not take her daughter and tell her what is her responsibility, what you're supposed to do and all of this. And the father would not. My father never tell me a word about marriage. Okay?
You didn't
So I
even know
said,
your mom and dad liked each other.
ah.
They didn't go near each other when the kids were around. That was just the way it was.
So it is to them, it's kind of modesty or very shy to tell you these things. But actually, it is not. So probably the culture here is completely different. And really, we're supposed to encourage that so we can avoid so many problems. Now, also, we are start learning about marriage and love through movies. Hollywood. You know, all those love things and how we live in an hour and a half movie that makes you, wow, we want to get married. And this is the way. You know, as if in the movie they love each other, you know, all the time. There's a 24 hours a day, okay? There is 365 days in a year. So the movie just give you the best scene within an hour and a half, does not give you the other thing. Where is the food? Where is the problems? Where is the, how can I wash the dishes, all the clothes and all the visit, everything. And so they never show you all these things, so that he's falling in love with this lady or she's doing the same thing. So we cannot learn from TV. Soap opera is pretty common. Yeah, we cannot learn from them. No way. So because it's a different life when you go into reality. Yes.
No, those
So
are
now-
pretty. Those are, you scary.
Very scary.
There's a
Those
lot
are
of
not all about
downtime
love,
too.
that's about
It's
some
not just
chaos.
problems.
I knew a friend
Yeah, downtime.
who, alhamdulillah, get engaged with a lady, but later they got divorced. Because, you know the reason? The reason is he wants to take responsibility. Open house. She still wants to live her life with him with a fairy tale. You know what I mean? All that stuff. You know how the husband and they go to a restaurant, go read a book and do that and travel. But he says, I have work, I have responsibility. You know what I mean? This is a family. You cannot just live our life with that. You know, we have to move
Or
on.
vice versa,
So yeah,
the
exactly.
opposite.
Yeah, usually comes from the one.
I don't know.
No?
Problems, not just problems, it's the downtime. It's the, you're sitting there, you're looking at that person going, well, okay, now what? You know, because there's a lot of that and nobody tells you about
No.
that. You're like, well, what do we do? Normally I'd be hanging out with my friends about now, you know?
So the most important thing in marriage is responsibility. Okay, this is the first thing when you say I want to get married, that means I want to be responsible. Live it. There's a lot of
It's
responsibility.
supposed to be.
It's a life. It's you.
Supposed to be.
Responsible for yourself, towards your husband, towards your home, towards your children, towards his family and your family. So it is a lot of responsibility. I'm not scaring you, but you have to feel that yes, I am right now different. Okay, I am going to get busy in life, and this is a, you know, the responsibility I have to take over and then move on with my life. So it is. It is not like the man used to go and spend the nights with his friends, you know, until 12 o'clock playing cards and all of this, and watching movies, or going to the movie every Friday and Saturday and enjoy yourself by yourself. No, it's a completely different life. You have a wife at home, you have children, you have home, you have to go in. So your timing will be completely different. The way you talk will be also different. The way you dress, the way you smell, the way you look, the way you smile, it's completely different. So single is completely different from a married person. So you have to tell your friend this is off. Now I cannot do all of those things because now I have to share my time with my wife. Okay? So that's why you have to make sure when you make that step, he says, now I'm gonna change my life. It's not like I'm gonna marry, but it's still I'm gonna spend all my nights with my friends and the movies and all that stuff that is not acceptable. Even the way you dress and all of that may change because you want to dress according what she like about you. Okay, not what you like when you were single. Okay, so it's a little bit different.
Basically just wearing what she buys for you.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, in the chapter of the women. Look, the whole chapter called the women in the Quran. It talks about the women and the rights of the women. And the whole thing is about. There is no chapter in the Quran called the men. Nothing. Okay, nothing whatsoever in the whole Quran. It's about the women. So this is by itself shows you the respect of Islam towards women. Okay. So in this chapter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this is the most misunderstood verse from the male side. Men side. الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض. He says men is in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other one. You know what we men understand? I am in control. I am better than you. I am the man of this house. I am the person in charge over you. You have to listen to me. You have to obey me. Whatever I do, whatever I say, it is you need to follow me. I take this direction, you follow me. I go this way, you follow me. Whatever I say in this home, it will go. That's what we understand. Man. I wish it is like that, but unfortunately it is not like that. Okay? So, let me explain to you what is the verse means.
Sunday,
And
big class to attend.
that's why
He's over there
Arabic-
sweating. He's like, ooh.
as we say, it is the most beautiful language in the whole world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every word we say, you remember in the Quran sessions, has a meaning. You know, the chosen of these letters, of these words, has a meaning. Qawwamun. What is in Arabic Qawwamun means? You know? قوامون means from قوام. This is قائم. I was sitting and I'm قوامون. قائم. That means I'm standing. In charge of somebody. In charge of. Like when you go to a restaurant, you and your wife. Okay, she invited you for dinner, which doesn't happen. She invites you, but
She
you have to
invites you every
pay.
day when she
You
cooks.
have to pay.
You gotta pay.
Yeah.
When you find the food that you invite.
You say, honey, let's go to dinner tonight. So you invited me, say yes. When it comes to the bill, say you go ahead.
No,
Exactly.
I
Happens a
my
lot,
debit
right?
card.
Oh, no, Yusuf always makes me pay because he thinks that's funny. Whenever they come to the table, he always says, no, she's paying. And I have to pay. He thinks that's legendary.
Wow.
Don't you pull out your
It's coming from
debit
the
card?
same, it's coming from the same bank
So your
account.
husband, so your husband does that. Well, yeah.
He doesn't have a debit
He doesn't.
card.
I have a
See,
debit card, I
He
can
doesn't
just
make a point in
Now-
restaurants.
I thought something was funny like that as well. Like, I told my wife, I was like, I said, you can use your money as well to go and buy something for our son. Not just for yourself all the time. So she goes out and she purchased something for him, and she said, now I want my money back. I said, what are you talking about? She
It's her
said,
rights.
she said, you wanted a son, you have a son, you said he's your responsibility, give me my money.
Lord lady.
Wow.
I really need to meet her
Very
now.
smart, yes.
Oh, she's here? Okay,
She's
good.
here. Brother, you're in trouble.
Well,
But she doesn't understand English.
Oh, I like that. So whenever
No,
she
but she
tells you,
understands
try to
Arabic.
translate it in a such way, become good for me, please.
She's from Tunis, so she understands Arabic and
Oh.
French just fine.
Anyway, so قوامون. So when you go to a restaurant and eat, the person is serving you. In Arabic we say he is قائم. That means he is doing his best to what? To serve you. Right? So you are there enjoying your time while that person is in charge. Is in charge to serve you. Right? He's in charge to serve you. So this is قائم. So the man in the house, he is in charge of serving his family. It is not, I'm the boss here, the big boss. Okay? I'm I'm like the king and you have to serve me. It is the opposite way. So they got to understand that. When you go to school, the teacher is what? She's in charge of serving the children. Qawwama. She's qawwama, in charge of doing that. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
In other words,
said
holding
in the
responsibility.
Quran. Holding that responsibility, I am going to go work outside. I want to make sure my family is in good hands, in good condition. Okay? Now, so this is the most of it. The other thing that and what they spend from their wealth, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the men. So men responsibility, Allah created us different. You know, I when I came to the States, says everything's 50-50. Okay? And they say, well, I asked one guy, I don't know, please help me out and say something. When you go and buy a house, then both of them should work and both of them would put 50% in the house, rent or lease or mortgage, whatever it is. Same thing for the car, same thing for everything. In Islam, there is no 50-50. The responsibility of the house is upon the shoulder of the man. In the aqd, when you have to sign the contract, he is responsible to provide you with three important things in life, which is shelter, food, and clothing. Okay? Three important things, right? Your responsibility, brother.
Not
Yeah,
everything she wants,
Yes.
but at least to clothe her, yes.
yeah, clothing, not from Bill.
And the boys.
Walmart is okay. Okay, so don't.
Yeah, you're talking
I'm not
right
protecting,
into
don't worry about it. I know their techniques. So you have
And
to.
milk is a lot times less expensive than Walmart.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, so you
get the
got
right
to.
sale, you're good.
This is your responsibility, okay? So, so you have to spend out of your wealth, your money, to provide a good life for your family. Now, the third thing is raising the children. That's one of
I
the
think
responsibilities.
there needs to be a comment on that though, honestly. Just like he said that the men's clothing changes, it should be to what appeals to her so that she's always attracted to him. It's also, he should dress her as he wants to see her and represent him. Not as an object, but he shouldn't buy her the most cheap outfit just because it's cheap. You know, it should be something that is going to represent herself well, because part of our religion states to go out neatly dressed, smelling good, and in clean, smelling good and neat. It shouldn't be all this misshaped, mismatched holes in this and tearing up stuff. So it doesn't mean you tell your wife you don't have to wear a hijab because I want to show you off to my friends. It means dress her beautifully so that you know that you've got a beautiful wife, because you know what's under that. Not everybody needs to know that.
And this is depend on your status. If you have Allah bless you with money, that means you have to accordingly go with that. So if you are not, that means you as the best of your condition.
Yeah.
Cannot go beyond that.
Don't take a loan out just so you can dress your wife.
Yes, exactly. The other thing is raising the children, which is the responsibility of both. Very important to learn and read. Educate yourself how to raise your children in the best way, with manners, behavior, everything. Go spend some time, at least, or attend the lectures how to raise your children in the best way. So that's one of your responsibility. Also, we talked about the nafaqa, which is in Islam, that means spending out of your money for the best of your family. And you should know that the woman in your home is like a queen. Okay? You got to understand that. That's Islam, how Islam treats her. Look, in Islam he says, when she was living with her family, her father and mother, does she spend from out of her money? No. That was responsibility of the father. So if her father died, who would take responsibility in Islam? Her brothers. If not, who? Uncles. So always she is in good hands by her family, spending on her. Okay? So now when they move her from that family to your family, to you, that means you have to continue that. You have to treat her like she is that person who everybody wants to make sure that she's in good hand. And that was come to your responsibility of doing
And if she left her home not in that position, you should treat her in that position.
Exactly. If not, you have to come up with a position. So tell her you are the queen. Now, what is your responsibility as a woman? It's not everything about the man. What is your responsibility in your home when you decide about that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, qanitat. Continue the verse. The righteous women are qanitat, that means they are obedient. Okay? And we understand obedience is completely wrong. That means I have to make the orders, you have to obey me. Okay? It is not like that. Believe me, if you understand marriage in the right way, that relationship does not become like I'm the boss and you are the employee. Okay? I'm the owner here and you are my employee. I have to make the orders, you follow. It does not work this way in Islam.
That's what my wife's mother told her.
Ah, no, that's not.
That's why I love her mother.
If you study the life of the Prophet ﷺ and how he treated his wives, it's astonishing how the Prophet ﷺ, look, you remember when we talked about his life in one session of the Quran, that one of the reasons that the Prophet ﷺ married more than one wife is what? Because his life is full of good things. It is hard sometimes in his private life that one woman can record everything that he has done. So we have one of the reasons ulama says, the scholar says that he had married more than one. One of the reasons so they could record his private life to us, so we can learn from him. Okay, so we can learn from him. So all of his wife, none of them through the history of his life, during that time, none of them complained about him. Imagine this. None of them. Because his life with them is not like, I am the prophet or I am the man of this house, I'm going to give the order, you follow me. He make it in a such way, she wants to obey him. She wants to do everything that pleases him. That is what Islam encourages you to do. Okay? So when you tell her, I am hungry, I'm going to go to work, if you don't mind, but you have to bring it in a such way that herself wants to do that. You're sitting home, I love to eat nice, great, delicious food. And sometimes we don't on these things, you know. So this is the way that you want to. I want you to take care of the children. Okay, mashallah, you are the best mother. This. Then it goes on. It's not like you do it. You need to follow. Okay, but he asks you that I don't like you to be outside during that time. You should not tell him no. I'm sorry. We are 50-50 here. I can do whatever I want to do. That makes your husband displeased with this kind of an action. So if you say something that it really pleases me for you to do this to make my heart happy, please, you've got to work around that and make your life the best
It's
way.
the way you word it, honestly, it's the way you make your wife, for the guys, and from a woman's perspective, it's the way you make them feel like, and a lot of times it's just a matter of consideration for the other person, so like, it was funny one time, I wanted to go to, my husband has asked me usually not to go to movies at night, it worries him for me to be out at movies at night, and I'm like, well, I'm not really worried, but it makes him happy, so it's no big deal for me to make that concession, but one time he had some friends over and I said, the kids and I are wanted to go to a movie at 7, do you care? And he was like, no, but what was funny was his friend said, you asked permission to go to movies? They said, my wife never asked permission to do anything. It was just, but I was just trying to be considerate, but I thought it was really funny the way his friends took it. It was a funny moment, like, he looked like I walk around asking him for permission to breathe or something, you know, Is it okay? Yeah, is it okay to go to the restroom and stuff like that? Yeah, I just thought it was really funny. It's just the way you do it. It's just
The way you do it.
consideration.
But you've got to understand one thing. You've got to understand one thing. That there is a captain. Okay? There's a person in charge. Right? When you go to the airplane, there is a person in charge of the flight who is a captain. Okay? So you have to have a leader. You cannot say in the home where both of us are leaders. It cannot happen in marriage. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put the man in charge of the home as a leader. You know, you go to the army, there's a president, there's a leader. You will go anywhere. There are, you know, Allah, you appoint a leader to lead you, okay, to your destination. In the marriage is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to put the man is in charge of this. So, but the reward in it, it's unbelievable for the women. He said, the Prophet ﷺ says, any woman who married, if her husband died, any woman, her husband died, and he was pleased of her. Okay? He died, but he was very pleased of her. She's a good woman for me. She's a righteous woman. Pleased of her. The Prophet ﷺ says, she will enter paradise. Another hadith, my wife says that if a woman prays her 5 prayers a day, which is the 5 prayers, and she wasamat shahra, and she fasted her month, which is the month of Ramadan, and she protected her virtue, and if she obeyed her husband, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment tell her, enter paradise from any doors you wish. If she does that, okay. So by itself, it's a great. Don't make it like the husband dislike you or you know, everything I say, she tell me no. She find a reason not to do this. One time, a wife find her husband looking at the marriage contract, deeply looking for 2 hours. And she told him, "Why you're looking for 2 hours? You've been looking." I said, "I'm looking at the expiration date." It's the only contract in Islam has no expiration date. No. You go buy a car, you do all that stuff, there is an expiration. Your Visa card is expired, but your marriage, there is no expiration date. It's there, okay? And she will be with you in paradise. Okay, that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. So it's in this life you're choosing, and in the hereafter, the same thing for the husband. But it will be a completely different everything, okay? No, the totality, the everything, yes.
You mentioned that I was reading in the Quran and the Hadith, and it was saying like these young voluptuous virgins So who are these virgins for?
Oh, this is a good question. Sister, this is gonna be a long answer. Do you mind if I could answer this next week?
Okay,
Please.
okay.
Because I'm trying to finish, and this is when we come to the, I'm gonna talk about the Huriyat, inshallah. Because it seems to me, and maybe Dr. Hussein would be here, would be excellent, because it seems to me there's a lot of confusion, especially on the net. You know, there's a 40 Huriyas waiting for the first, or 70, those who died in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah ta'ala, I will spend about 15 minutes, okay, about this, inshallah ta'ala.
But I didn't mean, I hope you didn't think I was, your point about that. My point was, my husband never made me feel like I was asking for permission. It was just a matter of being considerate of each other. That was my point. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got off track.
Okay. Now, the other thing is hafizat, the women is, those righteous women are those women are hafizat lil ghayb. That means they protect their husbands in their absence, in their home. Protect his home, protect his children, his honor, everything when they are at home. So when the husband goes to work,
His money.
exactly, his wealth also. His wealth, okay?
It's not,
No,
woo, I
no,
just
no,
go to the mall,
no,
husband's
my
traveling.
husband left home,
I only
okay?
did that once.
So you have to be really privacy, everything.
Honored.
Like an honor, privacy, his home, his children, everything. He feels about that. Because as I say, behind every great man is what? A woman.
A great woman.
Well, a great woman, but they say you can make interpretation to it, but the statement says
But you know, if it's a regular
true.
woman, if it's a regular woman that makes a great man,
Exactly.
then a great woman is
Exactly.
much greater.
So you understand it this way.
Very beautiful.
Beautifully, I understand it this way because of the interpretation, but
Very
really,
intelligent.
really, what makes a great man is a great woman, honestly. Because if you are happy at your home, believe me, you will produce a lot. If you are, like, how you can tell that man is really enjoying his work? Because he tried to finish so he could go to his home. Okay? And that's what makes you produce, that's what makes you happy in life. If you have a good wife at home is waiting for you. You go there, you see your home nice, clean, your children taken care of, the studying education welcomes you, she welcomes you, says, Allah ya'tik al-afiyah, Allah give you good health and good wealth, all of this. Instead of the opposite way. Oh, you know what I mean, my husband is, now the trouble comes, you know what I mean, all that stuff, make your life, change your life according to that. Yeah, definitely.
Like if a man is responsible for the house, he cannot take care of the house if he doesn't have the necessary support of the woman to help him take care of it. So it is, although he does take the leadership, the top cannot stand on not a firm base.
But
And
still-
the woman is that firm base.
It's
Is that where
perfect.
that saying comes from, the pot is found at the top, or something like that? What about something? Yeah.
But still, if the woman, she's wealthy, she came from like a very wealthy family, okay?
She's rich.
Her father is a prince,
Oh.
and he married his daughter, and she's wealthy. Doesn't mean that she takes the role of leadership. Still for the man, okay? Because Allah Subhanahu wa Taala created us this way, okay? Now,
Because it's his responsibility, it's her gift if she does it differently, but it's his responsibility to provide those necessities.
And those are general rules, like, you know, the specifics of each married life
Different.
are specifics, so we have to.
It's according to what each other compromise on and work
Within the
on.
confines of Islam, and there's
Yes.
a lot of area to move.
Gray area, lots of gray area.
Yeah.
now look, Imam al-Awza'i, an eminent scholar in Islam, Imam al-Awza'i, his father and mother died. His father died, but his mother raised him to be a scholar, okay, by herself. So that's by itself, this is the role of the wife or the woman in Islam. Also the sacrifice that both of them gives, responsibility We talked about that first thing. The second thing is the sacrifice that both of them do for their children, for their home. So many things that she might, sometimes her children are sick, she stays with them up all night, or take them to the doctor, rush them to the school, teach them. All those sacrifices because of their children. And that will, you should really put your effort in that. Hani, one of the companions, Sahabiya. We call Sahabiya, that means is a female companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, the bin Abdul Muttalib, which is the sister of Ali bin Abi Talib. Her husband died. Okay, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, look, a woman who had the opportunity to become the first lady in our terms right now. Okay, the president, his wife is the what? The first lady. Become the first lady of whom? To the best that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad. But you know, she refused for a reason. Why? Because she has children, many children. And he says, if I do this to you, taking care of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that means she may ignore her children. She may ignore her children. So she sacrifices to become the first lady, to become with the Prophet ﷺ, serving him, become his wife, and becomes one of the mothers of the believers. We call them the mothers of the believers. Because of what? Because of her children. The Prophet ﷺ respected that. Definitely respected. Because the Prophet ﷺ married her, it doesn't mean that she want her to be for herself and ignore her children. No. The Prophet ﷺ would not do that. But herself, she decided this. Prophet ﷺ definitely would take care of her children. But she is the one, she says, I want to spend the rest of my life taking care of my children. Prophet ﷺ says, أنا وامرأة سعفاء الحدث. Look, the Prophet ﷺ always says, in many hadith, that he would be in paradise of a woman who sacrifices her life for her children, if her husband died. Taking care of those orphans. Even then, her face becomes like wrinkle, you know what I mean? Because of the hardship that she goes through to take care of the children. He says, she would be with me in the paradise. She had that good intention.
But we have to pay attention that Salama, which is another wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she did have a daughter and she married the Prophet. So it's not.
It does not mean that you always do that.
But
But if she decided,
from Salama,
but if still she decided that she wants to be like that, that's her reward. But in our life, in this life, it is really good for her to find a husband who would help her to go on with her life.
It just meant that she thought she could handle the situation, and the other lady thought that it just wouldn't work for her personally, that's all.
But having one child is bad, I mean, it's not bad, it's a struggle. But it's really a tremendous struggle when you have multiple children and they're different ages. And this was a time there was no social services. Living in the desert is hard when you just see nothing for miles.
But it is a struggle to raise them alone.
Yeah,
That's what she's saying.
It's a struggle.
Like marrying someone would be easier. So it's kind of a woman.
Well, it brings its own set of
But
problems.
it says if I mean, what always I say, if she chooses that,
Yeah.
that is her right still, and her
He's
reward will be
highlighting
for
someone
them.
who chose not to get married.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it
It
doesn't
still
mean
is
that
better
that's
for you
better
to
for
find.
you to do. It
Yeah.
just means that that's one of the things, there's other choices than
Because,
just.
when you compare with our Middle Eastern society, okay, oftentimes a woman's husband dies, like the woman is left as a widow, and she never marries because of custom rather than because of religion, and we consider that a good thing. And I think that's not a good thing, because the rule at the time of the Sahaba and the early Muslims is that a woman's husband dies, she marries much more common. They married much more commonly than women of today
More quickly.
in the traditional societies of the Middle East.
Because that is a woman who's already aware of what a marriage is, and who already is used to that comfort and that support and that.
Like
Ali,
The companionship.
Ali radiallahu anhu, he married the wife of Abu Bakr, so it's after he died, It happened, they married the wives of each other.
That's not
actually.
specific to Arabic culture either. There are always in every culture, there are
I'm
a
not
generation of
very
women who think like, you know, almost martyr themselves. Like, I'll
Yeah,
never
yeah,
marry
yeah.
again, I'll wear black the rest of my
Yeah,
life and never go to another party. They're in every group.
And it could
Yeah.
be something that, you know, we Middle Easterners inherited from our Christian background before we became Muslim, and we retained it somehow.
Also, doesn't mean that the man, yes, sister.
Like, is this in the contract, or do the man, like, or do the woman say, like me, I don't wanna have any more kids? So, is that discussed in the contract, or the dating, or the guy, like, how is, like, that brought about?
We're gonna talk about the contract,
Oh,
next
okay,
lecture,
okay.
about the conditions.
Mhm.
What is the things that you want to be in the contract? Is this your right to do so, or it is not your right? So we're gonna talk about, when we talk about the contract, what is the rights of women to put anything written in the contract, okay? Before the marriage, so we'll talk about that inshallah. Okay, it doesn't mean also for the rights of a man, if his wife died also, to find a good woman taking care of his children. So it comes in both sides. Okay, it comes in both sides. There's nothing wrong with that if she find the right man to take care of the children also. Also, the third point with responsibility, sacrifices is what? Is accepting the other opinion. In marriage, when you go involve yourself, you've got to train yourself to accept the other opinion at the house. It is not you anymore. It is not say, well, I live my life, this is the way I wanted it to be, and you will never compromise with your partner. You cannot do that. So you have to learn how to accept, how to work things out, okay, by sharing these kind of opinions and decisions in the house. So when you decide to get married, you've got to learn, either a husband or a wife, to learn that I am willing to work things out, okay? I'm willing to accept this. So if I have a certain standard, I want it to be like this, and my wife is not accepting that, I need to lower my standard to where we could compromise something we both agree on, and then you could be able to do it. So you've got to do that in marriage. So these are the three most important things when we talked about marriage. I'm trying to speed up so we can talk next week about the contract itself. There's 5 things important to know about marriage in Islam. First, this is a law from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? That is what we call sunnah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, male and female. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises us through the whole Quran for us to bring this bond together, this relationship together through marriage. Okay? Through marriage. And has a lot of great rewards in it by doing such thing, because by doing that, you are establishing a Muslim family. Okay? Prophet ﷺ would come in the day of judgment, and his nation will be black, as he says in the hadith. So many of them. You know, a prophet comes in the day of judgment by himself. No one believed in him. A prophet comes in the day of judgment, 2 of them believed in him. A prophet comes probably 10. Prophet comes with hundreds, with thousands. Musa alayhi salam would come with so many people believed in him. And the Prophet ﷺ would completely, like you see the black things covers. He says, who are they? He says, your ummah, your nation. So that's why how we can build this nation is through marriage and building and establishing a Muslim family.
It's not black in color.
Black in color.
It's black,
Black
as
in
like
spread.
So many heads are out
covering
there, you
covering
can't
the
see
land.
the land. You see only those heads, and it.
Like when they ever cover as if it's a black cloud, you know, covered so wide, it's so a lot, yes.
Yes.
So the white people
But-
go to heaven too?
Yes, we get to get
No more
married,
white
hopefully. In saying this, that we get married and we have children and we build this nation, it means correctly. It doesn't mean have as many children as you can and let them go in the street. It means raise them properly as well. Doesn't mean let me have baby back to back to back to back, and then I have no time to even work with them or raise them properly or be patient with them or have this strength and this time to teach them even. Because all of that is necessary in order to raise an ummah that is worthy of getting into paradise.
The other thing, choosing your wife or choosing your husband, you have to take your time with it. Brothers and sisters, do not rush. Do not rush.
Say it again.
Do not rush of choosing your wife, future wife, or your future husband. Do not rush, okay? Because you have to be very careful of choosing that, because this is what brings you happiness to your life. You've got to understand that person. You've got to be happy. Don't suffer because of what you have done. And I rush things, and I saw her beautiful, nice, and she smiled in my face. Oh my God, she fell in love with me. No, you've got, because there's so many things beyond that. So you've got to be careful. Make sure you follow the steps. And he says, this is the man that I'm looking for. This is the wife that I'm looking for. Because he's gonna be with you in this life, and she will be with you in the day of judgment. In paradise, inshallah ta'ala. Okay? So that it is. So do not suffer because of rushing to things very
And know
fast.
yourself. If you don't know who you are, how are you going to pick your spouse?
Trust your instincts. If there's a red flag, pay attention to
Pay
it.
attention to
Let
it.
it be
Ask.
flashing.
You're not
Ask
gonna
so many
change it.
questions.
Listen to Oprah, you're not gonna change it, okay?
Ask so many questions. Follow the steps and say, I'm right. Make istikhara. Make advices from those who are very close to you. He says, this is what I'm doing. Let them check him out, or whatever it is, to make sure I have chosen this
What is
person
the
to be
best,
my husband.
who is the
Or the
best
opposite.
person, who is the best people to ask about a wife, and who is the best people to ask about the man, the husband?
Family and friends.
Or brothers don't ask other brothers about this lady. Ask the women,
So again, her family and friends.
but not family, because they're biased. And her friends are biased. Ask the women of that community and ask the men of that community, because they're not biased usually. They're going to be,
Period, because of.
Everybody is not, if you're a good person and you're an honest person, everybody's not gonna dislike you. I mean, that's a given.
that's number one, but also it doesn't matter if there's nitpicky stuff. The person themselves, if you're asking people who are stand-up people, they're going to understand it has nothing to do with what they personally like. They're responsible to report what they know good of this person. They must report what they know good of this person. And if there's something that is not so good, if it's not detrimental to the other person, they should not mention it. It's not necessary to
That's in
say.
the Islamic community. but
That's
we're
what I'm
not gonna
talking
find that.
about.
We're not gonna find that everywhere, because a lot of us don't just live in like Islamic communities. So therefore, if
In
you-
those situations, you have to alter how you do things, but you should ask the good people about this person, and you should not ask the brothers if you're talking about a sister, and you should not ask about the sisters if you're talking about a brother. We don't mix that much. So I only know from the brothers what they let me know, and you only know what I let you know. But the women see everything and the men see everything, because they interact a lot more with that person.
And it
But-
becomes a responsibility, like,
It's a
talking
responsibility,
behind
yes.
the back of people is not a
Not
good thing.
Mhm.
But in the case of marriage,
It's
they
a
have,
must
it
if
is their
it's something
responsibility
detrimental.
to say something.
Tell you
that
something.
affects them.
At one time, a father called me. He was asking about a man in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And the man, he told me that, Ahmed, I'm getting married and I know this lady, and her father is going to call you. And yeah, he told me to, if you tell him I'm in the
I'm your
masjid.
friend.
He says,
Tell
but
him
I
I'm
don't
good.
see you in the masjid. How are you going to tell him something? Because he wants to marry her.
Yeah.
Okay? So at that time when he called me, it becomes my responsibility, as if she's my daughter, and I have to say the truth. I cannot come up with something because he's my friend. And he was my friend. So I cannot just lie and tell him that you were there and I didn't see you. When you come to the masjid, believe me, I'll tell him why I have to hide this. I have to tell him. So if he gets upset at me, that's up to him. But he says you have to. But also, let me know, do not go extreme in the choosing your husband or your wife. You have like 1,000 questions. Yes, this, and his height is this, and that, and his life is this, and then you go to extreme to the point that None of them is good for you. Okay? Do not go that extreme. Ask the blessings. Make sure that you are around this circle, and then inshallah ta'ala make your step and make your intention and go ahead.
And what you
And
know,
if you
do
want-
it.
what
I
know
was
is-
asked to find a wife for a brother, and he said, you know, hijab isn't necessary, and she doesn't have to be in the masjid a lot. She does, you know, I said, so you want me to bring somebody who's less good than you are, because you're not in the masjid, you don't care about hijab, you don't care if they're praying so much, you don't care if they know Quran, you don't care if they're very Islamically knowledgeable or anything. So I'm gonna bring you somebody who's less, but she must be beautiful. That was the other
Yeah,
part.
that's why I knew that was
I said, well,
coming.
I'm not looking for you anything because I don't even know you, first of all. Second of all, I'm not bringing somebody who might be better than you to give to you, who's less than her. Where's the good of that? Why would I bring her to somebody who doesn't even care about those things? I'm not, and this is the other thing, people ask me to help them get married sometimes. I'm not I don't know you. I'm not advising you to get married to somebody, and I'm not advising someone to marry you. If I don't know you to be able to say, yes, they're good and they're wonderful and I know this and I know that, I'm not recommending you to somebody. It's just the way it works. And that's my responsibility. That's a personal choice of mine. Doesn't mean I'm better or not better. It just means that I know the responsibility of this process. And you cannot be suggesting somebody that you don't know.
What I
Because
say,
you're intertwining them with somebody else's entire life.
I
It's a
say,
big responsibility.
I said look for a person that makes you want to be a better person.
Definitely.
Oh, that's
She's been
absolutely.
trying to say something.
But
Yes,
what
that
I
is
was-
really
The
great.
brother was saying, we don't live in a Muslim community. We do to a degree.
Yeah.
I didn't know Brother Nadir. Pam knew Brother Nadir. I know the kind of sister Pam is.
Exactly.
I know interaction. I know a lot of Muslims. I've known Miriam for a long time. I've known Monica. Now, I think what we do is look for non-Muslims and want to make them into perfect Muslims. And you can only make people be what they are willing to be and only give what they want to give. I mean,
And you can only
there's-
support that. You can't even make
But
that.
you would
can
never
support that.
find the perfect person.
there's- I'm not
It's
perfect.
absolutely
We're not
there's
perfect.
Yeah.
There's no one's perfect.
Like this
But
man,
if you know
he was
somebody who's
looking.
good and you're asking them about that person, then you should understand that that person is not going to lie to you if you know that they're good. So
Like,
you should take their word a little bit, but you still weigh it against your istikhara prayer. You never just take the word of somebody and go with it. You have to ask Allah to guide you.
That
At the
this
same
man
time.
was trying to find a wife. She knows Quran, memorizes Quran. She knows the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. She's righteous, she's religious, she's beautiful, she's this. So if I find her, I'll marry her. Why I have to give it to you? Because you'll never find a
He
perfect,
didn't say that.
but you will not find a perfect woman or a perfect man, right? And then I know a brother who told me I want this in wife, and he could not find after a while because it's perfect. And then he lowered his standard. He couldn't find. Lower his standard. Couldn't find. Lower standard. Oh, till the end, he said, I need a female. Because sometimes you would not find the perfect person there for you. Okay? Everybody has shortcomings. But we need to train ourselves to be perfect in the best way. I don't know yet. Because every time he woke up in the morning and see his roommate, big beard, bald, with, you know what I mean? He says, I'm tired of this kind of shit. Somebody different.
I have a question. In regards to people asking you about someone, I had a friend. There was a Muslim man who had done something that was just really horrible, Islamically unlawful, everything. And she knew this person was going to get remarried. Now, no one came to ask her about this person, and she struggled. And she said, I don't know, am I supposed to go to this family and let this girl know that this man has done this thing? Or am I supposed to stay out of it unless somebody asks me? And I think she wound up staying out of it because she didn't want to do anything wrong, but she was horrified that this girl was going to be marrying this man and was actually worried about future children and the family and stuff. It was horrible. So, I mean, what do you do in that case? Are you required?
I know of a sister who was married to a brother, and the best answer that I have ever heard among any of the things, because she didn't want to say the stuff, she said, I cannot vouch for him. That in itself tells you a lot.
But she wasn't asked.
That's the
That's what her
best
problem
She's
was.
more than
No, I
She
know.
didn't know the people. She would have been a total
What's
stranger
Sister
going
Monica
up.
referring to, do I go and tell the
To a total
guys?
strange family who did not ask you or know
But
who you
what
are.
you can do is go to the imam or the assistant or some brother you know
Who's
that is
involved in the
very
marriage.
credible in the community
But look-
and talk to
Of
them.
course,
It's a
also,
hard
it
position.
also depends
Yeah.
on, did the man have told
Did
did
he
he
ever
change his
change
ways
his ways?
or did he?
Yeah.
So, because if he did
That's
change
hard
his
when they're
ways, then,
chameleons though.
if he did change his ways,
Really
then
hard.
surely he should.
This was her quandary, you know, it was like, what do I, have I, you know, I don't wanna do something haram, but I'm in fear for this woman.
Look, the best way to do it, because look, this is a very, very touchy.
Yeah.
It's not an easy, there's no answer tell you, yes,
Yeah.
her job is to go and do that. Because just imagine this, if you are jealous from another person, and it gives you the right to, oh, I'm jealous of her, I'm gonna go tell something bad about her so she would not do it. Okay? So you cannot open the door for such thing, because that to be in Islam is a slander. Okay? To be in Islam is a slander. You cannot just go and tell her that she was doing this and this. That means, you know, it was a slander. Islam like a fornication. It is, Islam is the most strict religion in approving such act. If you read the verse of the Quran, as if Islam is telling us, it will not happen. It will not. It did not happen in the history of Islam. Never. That you have to bring 4 witnesses, they have to do this and this. You go through extreme procedure for you to
Not
approve a
approving.
single act. Okay?
Proving.
Why? Because you want to
Proving.
put
Yeah.
exactly. Proving,
Proving,
yes.
not
Proving.
approving.
Witnesses,
Proving.
well, that's so, the act in a very,
It has to be
graphic
blatantly
They have to see
out
it.
This is
there.
why she didn't go, was because in the end, she said, I can't prove to these people what has happened, and so I'm, you know.
You go through, the judge have to go through
Yeah.
so many things to be able to,
She
you
has
know,
to
the
be-
Prophet ﷺ prevented that man. He says, go, maybe you kissed, maybe you touched, maybe you did this. And he told him, just go home, make istighfar. Okay, and he insisted that he wanted to
There's a
be
woman
purified.
who did that.
And women also,
Yeah.
al-Ghamidiyya.
Yeah.
So in slander, in these kind of things, you never know. Maybe that man makes a tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe he decided that time, by this marriage, I want to purify her. I want a woman stronger than me so she could guide me to Islam. A lot of my friends, believe me, they told me that they were not practicing the religion. Prayers, fasting. He says, by the time I get married, my wife, she was American, she became Muslim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him guidance. This man, the one I told you about, that her father called me to ask and tell him that I was in the masjid, he is probably right now more religious than me. Beard, big beard, going to his prayers, and he's very, wow, changed his life. So we have to be really
But it
careful
also takes a
on
person to stand up to that person and say, if it was true, I would say it. And sometimes that's the turning point for some people.
Yeah.
You can't just bow
Oh.
down because he's your friend or she's your friend. You have to make it clear, show me that attitude and I will definitely speak to it.
Is it Hamza Yusuf, put something, is that his name? I forgot the name right. Yeah, he put something out, somebody posted this week, I saw, and he was talking about how Americans, he said, you know, Islam is not a hegemony of, you don't take in someone else's culture, you know, it's not about culture. We talked a lot about that, and you know, the American Muslims, we have to make our own kind of stand on this kind of thing, but we're so small right now that it's not, but I guess that should be our slogan is, you know, marry an American Muslim, you know, so become a really good Muslim.
Yeah.
You never know. Look, right now,
We
11:20, I was rushing to finish these points so we can talk about, you know, the marriage contract next week. So you guys, I don't want to make it another lecture because it becomes really long. It is an interactive, I like
No,
it this way.
he's just saying he was trying to get through it all and now it's 11:20. How much more do you have?
No, I'm gonna finish this story because related to what we talked about, inshallah we'll continue next week. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً. Means Allah, oh Allah, this dua is a good dua that a person can repeat through the day and the night. It's a beautiful dua. Oh Allah, give us the good of this life, the good deed of this life, and the good deed of the hereafter. And save us from the hellfire. Ibn Mas'ud, one of the scholars of tafsir of the Quran, tafsir of the Quran, explanation of the Quran. When we say tafsir of the Quran, explanation of the Quran, he says, "Atina fid dunya hasana." Give us the good deed in this life. You know what is the explanation? The good wife. And في الآخرة حسنة وقنا and give us paradise. قنا عذاب النار, save us from the hellfire. He interpreted that to be from an evil woman. So protect us from that. There's a person, a Sahabi named Marthad al-Ghanawi in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Marthad, he used to love a woman, her name is Anaq, in Mecca. When they were in Mecca, Anaq, she was a prostitute in Mecca. Has a dancing club in her, you know, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they have these things when he was there, unfortunately. A lot of them, they used to make a worship.
You remember
the idols.
The prophets come to the people when they need them the most.
Yeah.
If they were burying their baby girls alive, don't you think they would have had a brothel?
Yeah. So just imagine on the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to do a lot of those evil things. Okay? They used to do, Assalamu alaikum. They used to do all of those evil things in his time.
Yeah.
You know, his slavery, his marriage, women is to them is merchandise. It's a merchandise, it's a property. Okay? And most of them, they used to worship the idols around Kaaba naked. And one time Prophet ﷺ was invited, he was young, he was not a prophet yet. He was invited to a wedding. And he was planning to go to the wedding. And in the way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make him asleep. Okay? He slept through that time. Because Allah wanted to protect him from attending these such evil things that they do through the wedding and stuff like that. So Marthad used to love this woman. He used to go to her club and used to have a relationship with her and love this woman. Then Islam entered his heart. So he
Make this clear. Those were actions that were being done before the advent of Islam, but also continued after the time of Islam, where other people were walking away from those things. Islam outlawed those things. Islam, it didn't condone it. So this is what he's talking about, the story. He had this relationship with this woman prior to his acceptance of Islam.
And Islam, after that, he accepted Islam, so he immigrated. He left her and went to Medina. Look, it doesn't mean that when a person in the time of the Prophet accepts Islam, that means he completely, immediately changes life. But to the most extent, yes, he changes life.
Accepting Islam is the beginning. The work comes afterwards.
But he needed to make the effort. Like some of them used to still drinking in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Still. And the Prophet ﷺ was alive. In the time of Umar, he was still drinking. So Marthad, his job was with the Prophet ﷺ, so he would go secretly to Mecca, try to help those prisoners of Mecca, Muslims in Mecca, to run away to Medina. Okay? So we go to their homes because they could not travel. They were put in places that the people of Quraysh prevented them to travel. So you go there at night. He used to take them and bring them back to Medina. A great reward of that. And one time he was in the streets of Mecca at night. He was hiding. And then Anaq was walking there and she saw him. He says, Marthad? He says, Anaq? We're trying to keep it there, brother. We're talking about something. So he told him, Marthad, because they used to love each other. He says, Marthad, tonight you are sleeping in our home. That means you're coming to my home tonight. And he says, yes. She told him. Yes,
she told him.
She told him. She told him that tonight you are coming to my home. And he told her, oh Anaq, I cannot do this anymore. I am a Muslim. Okay, I cannot be coming to your home alone. I am a Muslim. I cannot build this kind of relationship with you. Okay? So she told him that, Martha, if you do not do this, if you do not come to my home, I am going to scream and gather the people of Quraysh, and tell them about you. They will arrest you and probably they will kill you at night. So Martha, what he did, he ran away fast before he was captured. He went back to the Prophet ﷺ and told the Prophet ﷺ about the incident that happened. And he refused that. Wow. And the Prophet ﷺ, for sure, after a while, told him, oh, Prophet of Allah, can I marry her? She told him, we can get married at that time. And he said, no, I cannot until I ask the Prophet. So he went to Mecca, asked the Prophet ﷺ, I love Alaq, I want to marry her. You know what? The Prophet ﷺ kept silent. Until, learn about the Quran, until Allah reveals the verses in Surah Al-Baqarah. That tell them about that the men, the men, Muslim men cannot marry non-believer women. Disbeliever, the ones who worship idols, atheists, like at the time of Mecca.
Idol worshippers.
Idol worshippers.
Polytheists.
Polytheists, yeah.
Yeah.
So they cannot do that from both sides, men to women and women to men. Clear the verses. Okay? So, and he told him, Martha, you cannot marry her. You cannot marry her. That's it. So he stopped. So these are the things that you want to make sure, because we face something like that. I'm going to talk about that next week because of the time. Is what is allowed to us to marry, why it's been allowed to marry the Christian and the Jews, and not allowed for the women to do so. And what is the people of the book, we are allowed to do so. And what is the reasons? Make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that exception. And can we do it really these days or not? What is the condition if you want to make? Because a lot of my brothers, if somebody asks me right now to make a contract for a marriage, he is a Muslim and she is a Christian, I would refer them to the masjid. I would not pursue the contract unless if I ask so many questions and I sit with them and ask detailed questions about a lot of stuff. Okay? Because I really, in a lot of cases, I really don't advise. One time, I'm not finished, I'm sorry. One time, a father is a doctor, called me. And he says his son wants to get married. Never seen him in the masjid, but when he comes, they know Islam when they want to get married, and when they're somebody burial, exactly, they call us. Between that time, nobody knows Islam. So he called me, says, so his son and his wife came to the masjid, and they brought this lady with them, the fiancée of the boy, and she was a Catholic. So we sat on the table and started asking the question. And I was simply asked the son. We told him. He says, how you are going to raise your children. He wants to ask you. He says, how you want to raise your children? In front of the father. He says, I want to raise them exactly like the way my father raised me. He says, how you do? He says, he raised me upon the 3 religions. And he gave me the choice became 18, he gave me the choice to choose any of them. So I choose Islam. He told me that. So I'm going to do the same thing to my children. I would raise them and give them the choices of any religion they choose. We asked the fiancé, he says, well, how you want to raise your children? And she told me, I want to raise them like me, Catholic, Christian. I told him, no, I would not do that. I would not. He got upset at me, you are this. He said, I don't do whatever you want to say. I am not going to do it. Because that's not acceptable. That's not to my standard. Because I knew at this time, your children would be Christian. And I'm not going to do this because I want to make you happy. Go find somebody else to do it. So these are the things that we need to, so thank you. But inshallah we'll see you next time. It's okay.
Yeah, that's funny, because I'm the one that tells my kids, because I was Christian,
Well,
don't marry someone who's not Muslim, just make your life.
But listen, the thing that, let me
With
say,
all that respect, you
why?
have to know exactly. You have to know there is no problem to me. That's Islam gave us to respect to many the Christians and the Jews. There's no problem. As long as there is understanding. But when it's one-sided, that the husband says, no way, I'm going to give them choice, and the woman says, I want to be Christian, that is to Islam, to our standard point, is not accepted. But if she says, I have no problem with that, Islam tells you to go ahead and do that. So you have to understand.
And she
it is
has to
not
be
like
a practicing Christian. She has you have to support her going to her religious activities and things. But the difference between the two situations is when he was being raised, Ahmed, read that. When he was being raised, his mother was Muslim and the father is Muslim. We don't do this as a normal act where we open the children up to all three different religions.
Teach them about it, but don't
Our
raise
children,
them.
we raise them Muslim.
Yeah.
Because they were born Muslim, we raised them Muslim. How the father chose to do that, Allahu Alam. I don't agree with this activity. But the mother of this son was Muslim. Whereas this son is saying, I'm opening it up as an option for all three religions, and inshallah my child will choose to be Muslim. She said, my children will be raised Catholic. There's the difference.
Yeah. I didn't mean, what I mean is, I just tell my kids, marriage is difficult enough. And if you want to make it easier for yourself, I suggest you marry someone who's Muslim just to make your life a little bit easier, because I have 2 older boys. It's allowed. And I also said though, but if you do choose to marry someone who's Jewish or Christian, you cannot pressure her.
You can't force the religion on her, and you cannot refuse her religious activities.
But the children have to be raised Muslim.
Yes.
But listen, I have 2 questions. Dr. Hussein is here. Please, you ask about.
We asked him. He was here then.
Okay.
The 2 questions about Jesus when the questions last week, and I want you guys to talk about it and answer it.
What was the question?
The 2 questions were when Isa was ascending to paradise, and did he offer the apostles the ability to volunteer, one of them from among them to volunteer to be in his place? That was one question. And the other question was, is Isa here at the time of Gog and Magog? And does he hide with the Muslims away from the Gog and Magog?
The Day of Judgment. You have to know that the events goes.
It took me a minute to remember those questions, by the way.
The day of Judgment. This is what we call the major signs of the Day of Judgment. Major signs that will happen prior to the Day of Judgment itself. That Allah Subhanahu wa Taala make everybody die and then He resurrection. Okay. Before that time, so many big signs take place in earth. One of them is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala would send what we call Al-Mahdi. Al-Mahdi is a righteous person. His name is like the name of the Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad bin Abdullah. Okay? His name, and he become righteous, and he will lead the Muslim to victory at that time. During that time, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala sent God and sent Ad-Dajjal, the false Messiah. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala sent the false Messiah at that time. Okay? And false Messiah at that time, when we call him Al-A'war al-Dajjal, the false Messiah. And where is written in his forehead.
Come on, just read in his forehead.
Maryam, question outside. You told me the question and now you're disturbing.
I'm not disturbing anything. I'm being quiet. Go ahead. Okay, so message has. Okay, guys, pay attention.
I'm saying this is very fast, okay? We can talk about this in a different series of the signs that happened before before the Day of Judgment, okay? So those are the major signs that take place, and then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala